Hello everybody and welcome to another video. My name is Alistair Parnell and this is the Roland Aerophone Pro, the AE-30. Now right at the outset I will tell you that Roland sent me this prototype a few months ago, but all the opinions in this video are purely my own. They're nothing to do with Roland. I will give you my honest view from my playing perspective. I'll split this video into say 5 parts. We'll just talk very briefly about how we got to this instrument, a little history behind the aerophones. Then I'll move on to explaining the physical aspects of the instrument. Talk briefly about the playing feel and the response of the controllers. Of course, we have to talk about the sound engine. And then as a controller, how does it work? What features are there that will control external gear? And then finally, I'll try and answer a question for you. Should you upgrade or should you stay where you are on your current instrument? So with that said and done, let's get into it. So how did we get to this instrument? Well, as some of you will know, I've done some demos for Roland over the last few years, starting with the AE-10. Then they released the smaller Aerophone Go and then the Mini. And they all filled a particular place in the market and they've all been very successful. I was always holding out for the fact, though, that they might at some point go for a proper pro model, and this is the result of that. Now, as I said, they sent me this a few months ago, and what they actually did, they sent a few of these instruments out to various professional wind synth players around the world for some feedback. And I myself did some programming of sounds for this instrument, as did Matt Traum, who I'm sure many of you will know. He's quite possibly the best known wind synth sound programmer in the world. All the great players have played his sounds. Michael Brecker, Bob Mincer, you name it. Everybody's played sounds by Matt Traum. So those are baked right into this instrument, which is fantastic that Roland have from the start set out to ask wind synth players, what would you like to see in a professional instrument? So I'm really excited about this instrument. I've been playing it for a few months now. I really like it. Yes, there are a few little things that I'm not so keen on, and I will let you know those in a moment. But overall, it's a superb instrument and it's the best wind synth I've ever played. Let's look at the overall instrument then. As you can see, it's, I think, a really attractive design with this center silver piece. Nice curved accents which give it some nice character. The keywork has this sort of silver grey finish, and overall the feel is nice and solid and comfortable in the hands. It's about 2 pounds and 9 ounces in weight, so it's a little heavier, and it's roughly sort of 70 centimeters in length. It's about the same as a soprano sax if you want to get some sort of concept of what that size is like. The mouthpiece and reed is actually, I think, identical to the mouthpiece and reed that was on the Aerophone Go, which in my opinion was more successful than the mouthpiece that was on the Aerophone 10. And the keywork has been refined. The position of the keys is much better now. Some people didn't like the fact that the BIS key was a little bit too far away from the B key, but everything is really quite compact, and I think compared to the AE-10, the span around the instrument is actually much more comfortable, and it won't be a problem for people with smaller hands, and equally it's comfortable for larger hands, which I have. The palm keys on the side, they're elevated out enough. They're a little bit close to the body for me, but they have a nice big area, so they're easy to hit. Like a lot of these instruments, of course, it takes a little bit of getting used to and get the best out of it, but with the work, of course, it's well worth it. So let's have a little look at the ports that are available, ports and switches on this thing. So firstly, there's an interesting switch here, which is a brand new thing. This switch switches on the MIDI messages outgoing to your external gear. So if you quickly want to turn off the MIDI output, you can switch it very easily there. There's a headphone jack, of course. This is the mini headphone jack. We've got Bluetooth capability here. That's to send Bluetooth MIDI out to external gear. DC power in, of course, it runs on batteries. There are 6 AA batteries in this. And then on the other side, one of my favorite features about this instrument, a USB-C port. Now let's look at the back here. Firstly, we've got redesigned octave keys. They have slightly raised the very highest and very lowest octave key. There are 2 little S keys here, S1 and S2. They're useful for sending setups or changing CC controls on the fly. Again, both internal or external if you want to. We've got this really nice display, this OLED display in the middle here, which gives us a tremendous amount of information, both in terms of the sounds and the menus for all the settings we want. Thumb hook, of course, followed by the pitch bend wheel up and down here for the thumb. This here is the screw to release the plate for the battery cover. And then really nice on this side, this is again actually taken from the Aerophone Go, proper dials to select your sound categories and also to change the global transposition of the instrument. This is fantastic, really, really useful. And they've been very thoughtful about selecting all of those sounds. There are some short key presses so that you can use the dial very quickly to either dial in your preset sounds or your own user sounds as well. Now, the feel of it. As I've said earlier, it feels nice and solid. Key position is good. The key work, and this is a lot of people asking questions about this. Of course, yes, there is still some key click. The action is definitely smoother and more responsive, more solid, I think, than the previous Aerophones, but there is still some click here. Ultimately, for me, it's about whether it really is distracting, and my answer is simply no. That is because when you're going through an amplifier or headphones, as you would be doing in a normal playing situation, you're just not going to be aware of that key click. So I don't find it's a problem. Yes, I would love it to be smoother and quieter, but I really don't think it affects my own opinion on this instrument at all. And the other issue we should think about is some of these extra controls. I've already said about this thumb wheel here. Now again, the thumb wheel is perfectly playable and works well. Because of the thumb position, I feel it is quite tight to the top of where the thumb position is. Now, in playing, it doesn't seem to actually restrict the amount of pitch bend that you can get. But when you first pick it up, I think it feels, well, how am I going to actually cover the full range of the pitch bend wheel there? But as I say, when we're actually playing it and get used to, it's fine. Now, there's another controller right underneath the thumb rest, the thumb pad. This is a pressure sensitive pad. Initially, it's set up usually on most voices to either add growl. Sometimes it's used like a hold key if we're doing sustained notes like drones and things. By far the most important thing is the breath response and the bite response. Now, I don't know how all this mechanics works. All I can tell you is this is great. The lip response will give us vibrato. It gives us pitch down and pitch up. And then the breath response. Now, I always found the breath response to be pretty good on the other aerophones. But again, it's in a different class now. We can play sounds from absolute pianissimo right up to fortissimo. And somehow it just feels easier to control those gradations of tone. Maybe there's a slightly more resistant breath pressure sensor or something. I don't know how that technically works. But I do know that at the end of the day, it plays like I want it to play. You still have that leak pipe going through. Now, I believe on the production model, there's going to be an actual little kind of spit box down the bottom here, which will be quite nice. Sometimes when you put this thing on your knee, you do end up with a little bit of a puddle on your knee. So to have that collected in its own little receptacle, that will be rather nice. The other thing about trying this instrument and playing response, by the way, it's got two speakers in the shoulders here. Now, you've probably heard me talk about these before. They are really useful in just a few little situations. If you're in the wings on a gig and you just want to have a warm-up or something, or you just want to pick it up, you don't need to find your headphones, stick it on, and you can just have a quick reference. But please be really careful. If you go into a store or if you hear someone demonstrating this online and they're using these internal speakers, I promise you, you're getting 5% of the potential of this instrument. You really are not supposed to use these sound as reference, these speakers as reference sound. Get it plugged into an amplifier or headphones, and that is the way you should be experiencing this instrument. For me, the headline feature on this instrument is the sounds. In my opinion, and from my experience, this is by far the best sound engine that we've ever had, that I've ever played in a wind synthesizer. There are two sound engines actually in this. There's the supernatural sound engine, which gives us those realistic instrument sounds, so violin, recorder, flute, cello, brass instruments. But my main interest here is the ZEN-Core sound engine. Now, a very brief information on the ZEN-Core. It's a sort of multifaceted chip. It allows us to use hardware and software plugins, and they are all, if you like, interchangeable, which means for the WinSynth player, the ease in which we will be able to share sounds, publish our own sounds, is going to be absolutely brilliant with this instrument. Some of this setup is still in the pipeline, But I do know that the intention is that if you've got something like a Phantom keyboard, which also has the same ZEN-Core chip in, if you've got the ZEN-Core plugin on your DAW, you'll be able to make a sound on that, or your friend will be able to make a sound on that, and you'll be able to transfer it into any other ZEN-Core instrument, including the Aerophone. So we've got a vast array of sounds in here, and I'll also say that the preset sounds, of which there are more than 300, there's a lot of really useful sounds, not gimmicky sounds that might sound good as a solo sort of demonstration instrument, but when would you ever use them? No, there's a vast amount of sounds here that I think you will use. Now, normally on WinSynths before, I've maybe had sort of 5 or 6 sounds that I've stored in user memory, and I've kept coming back to those same ones. And here, I've played this, 3 or 4 months. I'm still finding new favourite sounds all of the time. So thank goodness there are, a good amount also of user scenes. I believe there's 600 user scenes that you can have here. So you can do lots of different tweaks to the sound if you want to. There's even drum kit sounds in here. There are 10 different drum kit sounds. As I've said before, 12 favourite sounds that you can quickly access either from here or the app. And by the way, the app is a whole new chapter as well. We'll need to look at that in another video. And of course, an integral part of all of that sound is the effects. There's a massive array of multi-effects, a really good sounding reverb and chorus and delay. And again, all of that is settable either on the instrument or through the app. Just briefly, as a controller, I have not spent that much time controlling things like main stage with this, but I am a big fan of the SWAM instruments. I've got various sound banks again from Matt Traum. I use the Respiro synthesizer. They've all been working really, really well with this as a controller. Just to give you an idea, we'll go into this more deeply in another video, but for instance, let's take the breath sensor alone. In the menu system, the breath sensor can send up to 8 different simultaneous CC messages at the same time. They all have their own parameters in terms of maximum and minimum, and they all have their own curve for that parameter change as well. So in just the breath sensor, you've got a tremendous amount that you can send to either the internal sounds or the external sounds. These S1 and 2 buttons are very useful for sending messages, program changes, setting changes in something like main stage again. And then of course pitch bend wheel and that thumb pad can be programmed to send simultaneously a different message to the internal sounds or the external sounds, and in most cases multiple different messages at the same time if you want it to. So I've been very pleased with it as a controller, but as I say, that is something that I'm going to dig into a little bit more in another video. So, do you upgrade? Well, it depends on what sort of player you are, and I think that's the great thing about the Aerophone series. There are those steps right down from the Mini through the Go, AE-10, and now the AE-30. So I think you've got to make your own decisions there as to how you want to use your Aerophone. If you're a Part-time player, you enjoy having a little jam with the Aerophone. Maybe you enjoy using those supernatural sounds mostly. I sort of think that the AE-10 would be, great for you to stick with. However, if you're like me and you're really looking for that fantastic lip and breath response, and if you're looking for that ZEN-Core sound chip, if you're looking for a sound engine which will give you your own signature voice, starting from those fantastic presets that have been specially programmed by WinSynth players, if you're looking for that synthesizer engine and to play those unique synthesizer sounds, then yes, I would say this is the instrument to go for. With the extra controls to control your outboard gear, the MIDI out, the USB-C connection, and of course the Bluetooth, it really does tick all the boxes, and it is, as I've said earlier, the best wind synthesizer that personally I've played. And this instrument plays so well, I can just enjoy playing. I don't have to concentrate on what I'm doing on the instrument. I can concentrate on my music, and that is the most important thing. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and click that notification bell, because I will be doing some more videos on this very soon to go even deeper into this fantastic instrument. Thank you for watching. Take care. See you in the next one.